Two, one. Hey, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Once
Sorry about the
again, we are
delay.
on. Yep. All my fault. I forgot I had a teeth cleaning. So,
I get them pearly whites, baby. Got
oh,
them
look how
pearly whites.
beautiful these are. Okay, hey, today we're going to
Nice.
talk about the 2026 King of TV Shootouts. Both Brian, Tech Therapy, and myself, we will be hosting the shootout. It's on July 18th. That is next weekend, Saturday. And let's see, East Coast time, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. start. So that's like 7 to 8 a.m. on the Pacific side. So it'll be fun. And we're going to go over all the different TVs today. We're going to have our predictions. And any questions you have, throw it out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about HDMI 2.2. I've been getting a lot of questions whether people should be waiting for 2027 TVs just to make sure they have both HDMI 2.2 as well as Dolby Vision 2. And then we'll talk about Dolby Vision 2. Like, it's midsummer. Where the heck is it, right? So a little bit of everything. And to start, let's just say a big hello to everybody. This super chat's wonderful. Let's go.
What's
And
up,
we
HD? Good
are
to see you.
going to go. Thank you so much, HD, for that. So we're going to jump in with, I'm going to start off. I love my graphics. So first of all, we have to thank Robert Zone at Value Electronics for hosting the 2026 shootout. And of course, they're the organizers, founders, and they've been hosting the shootout for the last, 25, 26 years. So we've been
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
this, we meaning Robert and his team has been doing this for decades. So if you have any questions about it, let us know. Every year we try to improve things, whether it's the judging, whether it's the criteria, whether how things are weighted. And as always, Dwayne Davis has been the calibrator for the last few years. So once again, he's taking over this year to make sure the reference monitor as well as all the TVs are calibrated. And why Val Electronics? They love to help you guys get the best TVs, and they figure what better way than the shootout, right? They carry all the brands that are in the shootout, so it doesn't matter to them which TVs you choose. They just want you to be happy, and especially if you want it calibrated. That's what makes the shootout special. A lot of you get the TVs out of the box, you don't plan to get it calibrated. I get it,
Yep.
but if we want to even the playing field, if they were all calibrated, which one is the best in terms of creator's intent? Shadow detail, perfect color, skin tones as the creator intended, and that's what makes the shootout special because neither Brian nor I, we do calibrated TV reviews, right? I have a reference monitor so you can see how different it is, but we feel that since 95% of buyers, even the ones buying the most expensive TVs, don't calibrate, our reviews don't use calibration, although we do tune it out of the box to make sure it looks okay. But the
Yeah.
shootout is all about perfect calibration among the best TVs to see what they look like. And speaking of TVs, what TVs are up? We'll start with the OLEDs head to head. Now, this is exciting because you have the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II, the 2025 winner. It is the defending
2024 winner.
A95L, right? It is the
Oh, the
defending.
A95L. I'm sorry. The
Yes,
Bravia
well, that
Mike.
was 2 years. It was 2 years of A95L. And Bravia 8 Mark II won last year. And, are they going to win this year? And to be fair, the Samsung S95H barely lost. I mean, a lot of people think second place, whatever, right? I believed that the Samsung S95H would have ran away with the shootout if you limited it to HDR. It destroyed the Bravia 8 Mark II. If you just said HDR content, image processing, it won, like by
Yeah.
a landslide. However, in SDR, the Sony was so good, it had such a lead, it's like a decathlon, right? The Sony won all these events in SDR, and then everything else, even though the Samsung dominated, it wasn't enough points to get it caught up, and so it
No.
barely lost. And the LG
Well,
G5 wasn't even in contention because
well,
the.
yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, it's very important to understand that for all of us that you guys maybe aren't familiar, is it is an enthusiast shootout, and things are weighed differently. So that's always an interesting conflict between with somebody that owns the TV and sees how one is maybe brighter or more vibrant. If it's not accurate and compared out of calibration and to the monitor, the reference monitor, then what you think will win doesn't really work that way. It's how closely do they match that monitor and how these things are weighed. And SDR is very heavily weighed in Sony's processing, that it is the best in that regard. And I think that both the G6 and the S95H have gotten closer in regards to processing FOMO. And I think that's what we're going to see. That's why I think the G6 is an interesting story for our conversation today.
And here's another point that you brought up that I want to address. What you think will win and what the judges think will win. So I was actually right. I predicted and I thought the S95H would win. I saw it while it was being calibrated and tuned. What I didn't see was the SDR side of things. When I saw the HDR, I'm like, oh, S95H is a winner. And I've been predicting the S95H would win. And if you limit it to HDR, it would have, because I'm not an SDR guy. For me, an SDR is a necessary evil, right? Yeah, old TV shows, SDR, fine. Whatever, sports, SDR. Yeah. But I prefer watching my content in well-graded HDR. There's crappy HDR, I will admit, and I'm not happy with that either. But good HDR is phenomenal, and that's my blind side. So I did predict the S95H last year, and the G5 did win HDR impact, which was why it was my benchmark last year for HDR impact. Again, HDR impact, not SDR accuracy. This year, Brian, given the improvements to the G6, I think the S95H is just slightly improved. It doesn't need to improve much. Just the SDR side, why it lost, because its HDR is so good. Can the G6 beat the S95H?
So the funny thing about that is that, first of all, the Bravia 8 won 2 years in a row, right? So we had the A95L for 2 years or 3 years. The Bravia 8 Mark II won 2 years, or I can't even keep track at this point. Because the A95, no, the A95K won. And then
A95K, the A95L. Then 2 years of A95L, and this would be the second year of the Bravia 8 Mark II.
Right. Yeah. This will be the third year of it competing. It won 2 years in a row.
Well, Sony won. Well, Sony won three. Sony QD OLED has won 3 years in a row.
Well, the Bravia 8 Mark II won 2 years in a row, I think.
No, last year was the first year of the Bravia 8 Mark II.
I don't know if that's true.
Yes, I'm telling you, you're aging right before my very eyes.
Well, the funny thing, the Bravia 8 Mark II, though, isn't just on the sidelines. Sony's continued to update it. And you've seen how much brighter it is in regards to its vivid preset. Who knows how much it has been improved in SDR. Again, for us that have these TVs, I still have the I'm not looking at it every day. But what you said, FOMO, about SDR that is interesting is I'd love to have everybody in the comments and that are part of our communities really sit in a room with the judges and people that are in the TV space if they like the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like having a judge that loves films versus movies. Yeah. Are you a movie fan or are you a classic film fan? And that's where I think like SDR, I don't watch anything in SDR unless it's sports or whatever it's in. Almost everything is HDR. So we already have a different. So I think when you guys say, oh my God, I can't believe this won or this lost, the judges are looking at it very differently, and it's weighted very heavily towards that enthusiast image, which is that monitor.
Yep. And for me, I really like the G6 this year. In a brighter room, I love the S95H's anti-glare. I'm not going to lie. That anti-glare makes a bigger difference for me than the minor impact improvement of the G6 over the S95H. If it anti-glare, it makes a difference. But unlike my room and yours, this is going to be reference darkness. So anti-glare is not going to play a factor. Now, they're going to have bright room comparisons, quote-unquote bright room. But even then, I don't think the judges mark against reflection handling, so it's not a big deal. Now, I do want to hit this one. What TV is best for sports? So I will define best for sports, two things. One, you're in a bright room. So you need a TV that definitely can handle a bright room. That means anti-glare. Bravia 8 Mark II is out. Does not have anti-reflection. Easily a mirror in a bright room. Yeah, it's terrible, right? S95H and G6 both have good anti-glare. If your room is one that has a lot of reflections because the ambient light is so bright, S95H. It is not quite as bright full screen as a G6, but the anti-glare makes up the difference. The G6 in a sports bar from across the room, you could see that TV. That is a super bright TV, and its glossy anti-reflection is the best on sale available that's not matte. Either one of
Yeah.
those TVs will work Exile, except the G6 will hold on to its brightness longer for hockey than the S95H. Just something to
Yeah.
keep in mind if it's important to you.
Yeah. Well, going back into the G6, what I think is so interesting about its year is so many people, and LG is in this kind of category, is who do you listen to? The TV was ultra bright, and then what we say in the beginning of the year, it's desaturated. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, they're saying, well, the G5 was oversaturated. And it put a yo-yo kind of in what it was looking to do, FOMO. But
Right.
the companies really want to be the most accurate if they can be. So I think they did waver on who they were listening to. So they made it more accurate, but dimmed it a bit, because if you're a Hollywood studio, the TVs are all too bright. It's way too bright. So they
Yeah.
end up bringing all the brightness down and then the brightness up. And I think that was a different challenge versus what the G5 went through last year. The G5 was not ready for prime time by the time the shootout came around. I think the G6 would have been fine in any of its updates FOMO to compete in shootout for accuracy.
I'm really excited to see how the G6 new 6 nanometer processor does. I have found
Yeah.
it to be definitely improvement over the G5 and SDR. I could see
it's
where the
clean.
G5
Yeah,
lost last year. Very clean shadow detail. Color saturation is good where it counts. Near black saturation is where tandem OLED has always struggled. Can the 6 nanometer make those adjustments? We don't know. We'll see. But I think it'll definitely be closer than in past years. Let's hit some super chats real quick before we get to the mini LED. I know a lot of people have questions about that. Hey, Super Googly Glee. Your name always trips me
I
up.
love how you
Thank
still try.
Thank you for your generosity and super chat, my friend. Hello, folks. I think the shootout should include PC gaming with Reno DX to. I don't even know what Reno DX is, by the way, because I'm not a PC gamer.
Yeah, it's like an
With-
over sharpening software. You can add it to
Ah,
reshade.
okay.
It's
To
pretty
really
incredible. 'Cause-
test these modern flagship TVs. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Most
Yeah,
movies
so-
and shows are graded below 1,000 nits, which C1 can handle, but no one watches HDR demos all day. So what are your thoughts on
So-
PC gaming or just gaming testing for these type of shootouts?
So I'll take the Reno DX and reshaders and also HDR. It's like proper HDR implementation, because as you know, Marcus from Gaming Tech, almost every video he does, the black level floor is raised, and a lot of these extra modded things fix that. The problem is there's just too many components for us to judge. It's which PC, is it a splitter? Splitters do not like anything above 4K 60. And then is it which PC? Are we using one PC? Are we using several? Which settings are we using?
Are we judging VRR? Are we
Yeah, well,
judging motion
is it
blur?
G-Sync? Is it FreeSync? I mean, there's just too many components. And then the times where we've done even our spring event at Roberts, gaming almost never makes it through, because even with a very high-end splitter, one of them thinks it's an SDR, the other one thinks it's an HDR. Then you're talking about Windows HDR. Is the game optimized? Did it take an update? It's just too much for anybody really
And
to
what is
do.
your reference for HGIG? That you have to have a reference gaming monitor that's properly calibrated for
Yes.
HGIG, which you could do, but I
Which you-
think and,
yeah.
and you have to bring in a whole new set of judges. These
Well,
judges
and then-
are not qualified to judge gaming.
Well, and then for super googly, the thing is, what is it you're looking for from the TVs? Are you looking for pixel response? Are you looking for its picture quality? Where one might have better image quality and have a slower pixel response, it's not going to be great for a high-end PC gamer anyway. So I know what you would like to see, and yeah, we don't
I do
watch
too.
HDR demos all day, but I want to just say this quickly. The reason why you're seeing HDR demos all day, guys, because our channels wouldn't last 5 minutes with copywritten material. That's why we play HDR demos, because that's all we can show.
No, speaking of which, if you guys remember my last live stream, I had NCIS on. I was immediately hit and told to remove NCIS. So those of you who were on the stream, you saw NCIS, but then my final stream that was available publicly was missing NCIS because I had to remove it. So yeah, a lot of these copyright IP companies, I mean, NCIS of all things, that's why, knock on wood, I use Little House on the Prairie. I try to go back in time as far as I can. What is that, Bonanza? And hope that they don't catch me doing
Well,
that.
the thing is too. What you guys, this guy's saying a shader. What are you a sharpener? What are you smoking? A shader. My bad. With Reno DX, I don't spend a lot of
Okay.
time modding. I spend time making content for you guys. By the way, as far as us getting hit for copyright, they don't have to hit you right away. They can hit you next year.
Oh,
You have
3
videos
years.
get hit from
Yep.
4 years ago. So
Yep.
doing that, and the reason why you see Jen's content is we can play it consistently. Even demos from the manufacturers, once they lose the rights to that, they can hit us.
Yeah.
So we're not just playing HDR demos because we want things to look pretty. It's literally all we can do. If you want to see the TVs, if you want to see
Yeah.
the host face the entire time and not see the TVs at all, then that's why you see a lot of creators doing that. Copyright just is too hard.
And it's not just copyright. It's very hard to capture these TVs. Ask any TV reviewer.
Yeah.
You have banding that's not the TV's banding. It is the sensor introducing banding because they don't have the right frame rate or the shutter speed
Yeah.
on their camera. But if you have the right shutter speed, then you introduce motion blur that's not on the TV. And so, there's a lot of behind the scenes adjustments that I have to make it look like what you would see at home. And even then it's not perfect because the colors are all off, right? So we do what we can, and ultimately, is it close enough? Well, hopefully our audibles explain exactly what we see. But yeah, and I, we do it live, which is even more challenging. But this is why a lot of reviewers, you notice, it's always an unboxing, a little bit of the menu. There's no way they can capture it because they're going to see what's all that banding. I can't get rid of it.
And from what the TVs are so bright now, what you're seeing from the creators when we're at these things is they go in, they turn the brightness of the TV down to 20. Just so they can keep the exposure so it doesn't clip, because you guys freak out. Look at this guy freaking out because I said it was a shader. How things get taken. This TV's clipping. The problem is then you're watching a guy film a TV at 20 brightness. So you're not seeing what you're going to see anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like it's very hard. These TVs now.
And to your point, that's why they never share their settings. A reviewer cannot share their settings because be like, wait, his brightness is at a 10? The
10.
heck?
Yeah. So
right?
I mean, like, and you're trying to make it look good for the camera. We try to, and that's why we don't bother with the HDR. I film it in HDR. It gets graded, and then it's too dark. Then what do? You have to go back, wait for it to render. You really have to just spend more time. This guy, Reno is an add-on for reshade. Okay, cool. Now you know why people don't talk about PC gaming when it comes to TVs.
Yeah, no. And PCs are not good. I mean, TVs are not good enough. We're going to go to HDMI 2.2, and I'll explain why. But yeah, Robert Conrad, I have to clap. So when I did my G6 versus Bravia 8 Mark II, Robert is like, I'm so mad. How can the Bravia 8 Mark II be beating my G6? Because he has both. And then at the end, he's like, oh, my bad. A hard reboot. It's a better TV. And so now my G6 definitely looks better than my Bravia 8 Mark II, which is my experience as well. Now, whether it will win the shootout, a different matter. Skin tones excluded. And this is why people have their G6 calibrated. Out of the box, some people complain, is that green tint? Can we get that out? Is that native? I mean, can you even calibrate the green tint? Mine is calibrated. I do not see the green tint. Whether it's out of the box, is it a little oversaturated in green? I don't know, but I'll tell you that the Bravia 8 Mark II out of the box definitely undersaturates the green. So when you have the G5 or G6 next to it, it looks greener, even though it's accurate, because the Bravia 8 Mark II is not accurate. That's something I want to remind you guys. And I'm reviewing the UR8 Hisense, copying Sony exactly. The UR8 definitely undersaturates green. It looks a little bit magenta, and I'll show you. I know I was supposed to have a live stream on Sunday, and then 4th of July weekend got away from me. I'm so sorry, guys, but I put up a poll. Yeah. You guys want it on Monday or Sunday? Apparently it was neither.
So Robert is a good example. Love Robert because Robert takes it for the team, right? But if you look at Robert Conrad's viewing habits, the way he likes to watch, everything he's seeing on screen when he puts the G6 versus the Bravia 8 Mark II, I promise you, Robert, if you sat in the shootout with us, you wouldn't recognize your G6. Yeah. It won't look the way you see it. The calibration, the colors, all of it will look very different. But I know you'll say to yourself, Robert, no, but in this scene, it does this. It won't do that when they're reference. So a lot of the things
it may be indistinguishable when they're reference.
Yeah, so and that's when you get into the nitty gritty of how this we talked about this flag in the corner, when they're looking at it to see if it's got dithering or if it's got some aliasing, they're looking
Right.
at it like that versus that. You and I think about that bright scene where the fire hits. When we look at alpha, that's not what they really look at. They look at the gradients in the ground and the things that you
So
and I,
that's why. So that's why I review my TV. So you have the shootout for cinema reference enthusiasts who plan to get their TVs calibrated, and then you have people who buy TVs that punchy HDR, no calibration, out of the box settings. Those are my viewers and your viewers as well, right? Is we try to give you
yeah.
what we think looks good for a bright room. If you're in
Well,
a reference room,
yeah.
we normally recommend you get it calibrated.
Well, and the reason we do that, and I think to say out of the box sounds like we just pull them out of the box, plug them in, and then literally start showing them. That's not it. But what it does do is each manufacturer has a specific signature. You know, so whatever company wants to say filmmaker is this way, that's why we want them to look different when we compare them. One will do vivid much brighter. We're seeing this year, FOMO, that Sony or Samsung's dynamic is really not that bright. The movie preset is more impactful. So in my opinion, they want even the dynamic preset to be somewhat accurate.
Yeah.
And each manufacturer does it differently. I like that they look different.
I have to say that Samsung definitely overhauled their dynamic mode. I have never seen dynamic mode have natural skin tones. I mean, as natural as
Yeah.
dynamic can be, but it is more similar to Sony Vivid or spitting image of Sony Vivid than ever before. And you look at its brightness, it is no longer the brightest mode. Standard is
No.
standard is totally desaturated. If you guys saw my review, the S95H
Yeah, so
standard is almost unwatchable. It's just for
no,
sports.
so
That's
so
it.
I reached out to Samsung because we had the same issue with the S90H and even the R95H. Yes, it might be brighter than all the other manufacturers out there, but the tone mapping and active is just doesn't. It's active out of the box, but it just doesn't match the others. So it really, if you put it in static, it's still pretty bright, but in active, it's not usable.
Yeah.
So if you guys have standard Samsung TV, just change the tone mapping to static, and it'll look amazing in standard. It's just
But
for
at
some
that
reason
point,
they won't fix
you
it.
might as well go to dynamic because
Just
now
stay
it's
in
not.
movie, yeah, because then
Yeah.
they're basically identical. Movies,
Right.
actually, I saw the two TVs last night. The S90F and the S90H. Movie was brighter than both of them. So I was like, okay,
Well, remember when eco mode on the S95F was brighter, dynamic. So
from what I
go
understand,
figure.
if you wait, it'll dim. But you know, we
If
can
you
run around so
wait.
fast. Yeah, like 5
Hey.
minutes later.
Thanks for the super chat,
Well,
Elos.
speaking of the S90F,
Elos maybe has a very important question because this deal may not be around. Open box S90F 83-inch 1500 or open box S95F. That's the flagship from Samsung last year for 2300.
the
Both
same-
are
I guess,
83-inch.
same
Okay.
size. Oh, both 83.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
both 83-inch, right? Worth the
I can
upgrade for
take- I can
$800 more. Okay, so this is what you're getting. What do you get for $800 more? Two things. Anti-glare, that's the same anti-glare that's on the S95H this year. And number two, you get tandem OLED. That's not on the S90F. The S90F uses a normal WOLED single. What's the
yeah.
opposite of tandem? Singulum.
It's just-
It
it's
has a
just a- yeah,
singulum.
yeah.
Singulum
Single-
OLED.
I just call it
Versus-
standard OLED. Basically a
Versus
C-series.
Tandem or Evo versus Tandem. Both are WOLED. Yes, it is worth it if brightness is important to you. The S95F is significantly brighter than the S90F because of the Tandem OLED difference last year. And the matte screen for a brighter room, definitely very important. Now, if you're watching a dark room, I don't know if that $800 is important. Rather, I don't know if those improvements are as important in a dark room. But in a bright room, absolutely. Ambient light, mixed use, no more glare, no more reflections, and it's brighter. Personally, I would go with the S95F because I think 800 is fair for what you get.
it's-
Only if you use it.
yeah.
Only if you use those two functionality features. Brian, what would you get?
I mean, yeah, for me, I mean, I reviewed the S95F at 83. I didn't do it till the end of the year last year, FOMO, because we couldn't get confirmation that it was a tandem OLED. They're doing the
wait,
same
let
thing
me confirm. It is tandem OLED.
this year.
A year later,
Last
I can
year,
confirm now.
They wouldn't let me know. Yeah, you're like, you got me? I will say this, that the S90 will be comparable to the C series of that year at 83, but it
Yeah.
might be a less of a C series because we've seen where LG is pushing the C series brightness. So you're not really guaranteed. And at that
Well,
point, FOMO, if it's
it's actually dual. So you have less brightness, but the C5 completely screwed up on their processing. A lot of macro blocking, just like the G5. So if you're
I mean,
watching, you
I've
see the
spent time
problem?
with this, but I've spent a lot of time with the C5. I don't see that. I mean, so like
Right,
I've that macro blocking on which movie, which thing,
right.
it's fine. So it's like, so I rather have that kind of TV from LG versus Samsung because you're really kind of getting a stripped down version of it. That's why
Right.
this year I can only recommend the S90H at the 77-inch size because I know that's the tandem, as far as the way it behaves.
Right.
And it's great, but the S95 is just another animal completely. And I think even in a dark room, even in Filmmaker, it's a brighter TV. It's just more impactful. It's, and
And
it's
I
just,
think
it's a better build quality and everything. It's just a better TV.
I love the matte anti-glare. I think that it's
It's
unfairly
much better now.
villainized.
What's up,
Getty
Kitty?
Man,
Oh,
Getty
yeah.
G Man. Here we go. What's your take on Sony killing disc games? So I've been all in on streaming, downloading games because I used to PC game. For me, I understand the importance of a disc and ownership of the disc, but the reality is I haven't used disc on anything in a long time. Even my movies are either Kaleidoscape or I'm streaming YouTube or Jen's content. I understand and respect the position that people want their disc. Sony
Yeah.
probably looked at the numbers and they're like, I mean, it doesn't bring in any more money. It brings in
No.
goodwill, but is it going to sell more PS5? And they're looking at the competition. They don't. They're probably predicting that Xbox will do the same. Steam OS, the Steam box definitely doesn't have a disk drive. They're like, wait a minute, why are we the only ones left with a hard physical media? Let's just even the playing field so we
Yeah.
are not at a disadvantage because they don't think it's a marketing advantage. That's my take. Personally, I don't use disc. I'm lazy. That's who I am. I don't have a giant disc collection of anything. I'm the anti-physical media because I'm disorganized. It gets dusty. I don't clean my discs, and then I lose the cover. And so I have this disc sitting like, what the heck's the cover? So I'm not
Yeah.
the person to be personally enjoying these discs. But Brian, you might be that person. Are you like a disc guy?
I was a physical media guy. I mean, I have boxes full of Blu-rays and HD DVDs, other failed formats. And to your point, though, as a creator, when I buy something on Apple TV, the whole family can watch it. And streaming has been us as creators too, FOMO. When we do like a Spears and Munsell disc, filming it is a nightmare how long it takes to load. So it's really been about convenience. In terms of gaming, Sony, Xbox, they got killed in the used game market for years at GameStop. And if you remember, a lot of those stores really only had used games for years. The shelves were filled of that, and they made no money on that. I think they eventually wanted to take that back. The problem, as we've all talked about, it's very different between ownership and better image quality. Once the image quality on movies and audio was close, people were done with it. For us that play games on PC, once we had to go to Steam, I think everybody was kind of all in on saying, well, I might as well just buy it online. Just for
Yeah.
convenience versus going to the store. Because we used to pre-order it and then go back and pick it up. Once I got used to Steam, I got used to it. So yes, am I upset about it? Absolutely, I am. However, we're all kind of the cause. If you really, unless you're 100% physical media, no streaming at all, then we're all part of the cause.
Yep.
They really don't want to spend the money. Now, I think it should be cheaper, but if you see what's happening with Xbox right now, these studios are gutted. We're going to see the worst gaming downfall since the fall of Atari in the 80s. I mean,
Man,
physical media is the
AI.
least. It's
AI
the
is
least.
affecting our lives.
Well, I mean, but if you look at the way Xbox tried to run their thing, it failed, and id Software is in trouble a lot. So we're going to be, believe me, physical discs it sucks, but no one's going to care as far as the companies aren't making any money, and then they're freaking out. So it
Yeah,
sucks.
no, the
all around.
TV, the margins are really lean. They're making money on data, selling your data. That's where the money's
Yeah.
coming from. The TV themselves,
Yeah.
they are at break even, is my opinion. And we're going to explain why. because this local dimming zone count actually goes to that discussion in a bit. And I know there's some super chats left, so we do want to get everything in the next hour. We're going to talk about the second half of the shootout next. Local dimming zones, because it's the RGB TV. No, the Sony Bravia 9 is not competing, but the Bravia 9 Mark II is. I put it up there to give you a relative idea of how many dimming zones it has. And these are all 75 inches. I know many of you have 65. Like, wait a minute, my 65 inch only has like 1,300 dimming zones. These are 75 inch sizes that will be at the shootout. And speaking of the shootout, a quick thank you again to Robert for making the shootout possible. I want to bring to your attention that as the years go by, you notice the first shootout or shootouts from 10 years ago to today is constantly improving. And after every shootout, Robert sits down with the team, with me, get feedback from you guys. How can we make the shootout better? So this year, I'm hoping 2 changes are going to happen. July 18th, show you guys what's being seen. I'm going to try to balance that and not get hit with copyright, because that's my responsibility, not Robert's, is to try and get you guys a feel of what the judges are seeing without interfering with the judges to the extent I can, right? So we'll see what happens. But I really want to share some of what the judges are doing, and then have our little golf talk commentary. Like, oh, that judge, is he even paying attention? Who is that guy? Let's not have him back again. That kind of commentary where we hope the judges don't overhear and it's all offended.
Well, Robert really is. I mean, for Robert to, as a pioneer of this, he's been doing it for so long, and just has gotten. I mean, there's other countries doing shootouts. Robert started that, so and the fact that he's kept it going this long is a true testament to his dedication to. Just having one TV win. I know a lot of people say Sony won, it's a Sony thing, but remember, LG won for 5 years in a row as well. Mm-hmm. So there's always that. It's just that once everybody was an OLED FOMO, then it was different, because LG was going against mini LEDs. Yeah. So I think Sharp Elite was the only LED to win a while ago. So it's really about how the little tiny details.
And speaking of little tiny details, we're talking about the little tiny dimming zone. So the Bravia 9, a 2024 TV, the reason why the Bravia 9 Mark I, the first generation, is such a legendary TV is this. They don't make TVs like this anymore, meaning not just a lot of dimming zones, but a lot of dimming zones that have the best in class image processing software. TCL has more dimming zones to make up for the lack of processing, with the exception of this year. They have both dimming zones and processing, which, if you notice, the TCL X11L is not on this list. So we're going to talk about that at the end. But I wanted to show you guys, they're like, wait a minute, how is it the big 3 are not pushing dimming zone count anymore? And if anything, the Sony Bravia 9 Mark II, how they came up with 1530 is they took all the separate RGB colors and called that one dimming zone rather than each color a dimming zone. So this is why, and so I'll explain it to you. Even though effectively it acts like less dimming zones, because they have to control each color independently, it ends up using more processing power. And so this is the irony of this. For Sony Bravia 9 Mark II and the LG and the Samsung, for them to push this many dimming zones using RGB takes even more processing power. But the problem is, I don't know if you're getting the performance had you not used RGB and just went straight dimming zones and got 3 times as many dimming zones. So let's go back to the Sony Bravia 9 Mark II. If this was SQD, it would be 5,000 dimming zones straight up. So my question to you is, would you rather have 5,000 dimming zones straight up SQD or true RGB? And after seeing all the TVs, after seeing the X11L, after seeing the Bravia 9 and owning the Bravia 9 for the last 2 years, all day long, give me 5,000 dimming zones. Now, this is not a prediction of who's going to win, but rather, I am very disappointed that rather than going up in dimming zone count, all 3 companies moved towards better backlight color because they believe that this somehow improves color saturation. And I challenge them. The X11L has proven them wrong. The contrast is notable. The deep blacks is the best. The only deep black that has matched the Bravia 9 and slightly better than the 9 Mark II, and best specular highlight that beats the Bravia 9 and Bravia 9 Mark II. The only thing it doesn't do is if that red, or if that star field was red, then the Bravia 9 Mark II might have a better red in the star field than the SQD. So you're building for an edge case that does not exist. Who watches a red star field? Like, how many movies has a red star field? I don't know. But literally, that's what all three TV companies have made this technology for, is to be traditional mini LED in colorful star field, where each star is a rainbow of moving colors. I don't know.
Well,
Brian, what are your thoughts on RGB? Because you've seen these TVs.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Being realistic, you've seen these TVs, but not the LG. Neither of us have seen the LG.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the LG at LG, the review workshop, but it wasn't what I was focused on because I was trying to film the OLEDs. I assumed I'd have an opportunity to film it again, and I haven't yet, even though I can get down there. And I don't think Robert has one in store yet. What I'll say is this. We said this about 8K. You need a hook on why to buy. And that's why OLEDs are suffering, because whatever OLED you have from 4 years ago is still a great TV, and it'll beat most LEDs. So my C1 is still hanging in there. My G5 is still in the other room.
Brian, to your point, the word OLED has been around for over 4 years. By now, it's played out. So when you say OLED, you're like, oh, that's old technology. And you're like, no, you don't understand. It's old technology that destroys anything that isn't.
What I always thought was funny was that they said that mini LEDs were old technology. OLEDs have been around forever, by the way, a really long time. But now that they're more common and they're priced reasonably, which is the key, you need a reason to buy another one. That's why the brightness goes up. But we need HDR. We need these easy things like 8K, a reason to leave your last TV. And it's RGB to me is really just another way to say, look, you need to buy this for this. But like HDMI 2.2, we'll talk later, things aren't being made that way to showcase that.
No.
You're going to get, how many, 400 hertz for 8K? There's not even 8K TVs around anymore. So why would I need an HDMI 2.1? So we've kind of gotten that. So even when Jen puts in the 2020 color space full color gamut, it still doesn't show up.
The Bravia 9, so on my stream, between the 9 and the 9 Mark II, color differences were nil. Off angle was slightly improved, but the irony is the off angle technology had nothing to do with RGB LED. The off angle technology is its own thing.
But the funny thing is, going back to what you said about 8K, towards the end of 8K's life, probably with the Z9K, you and I said, if you recommend it, you're recommending it because it's a great mini LED, not an 8K TV. RGBs are the same way. That's why we were excited about SQD's approach, because it was really just a traditional mini LED with more zones. It was brighter and a different color filter. It wasn't reinventing the wheel. And that's why I like the X11L probably the best. But the Bravia 9 Mark II also surprised me because it didn't seem to have the same issues as a lot of RGB or micro RGB TVs.
Yeah.
And it's a buzzword, as Don over here says. You need a buzzword to know what you're looking at, FOMO. Especially now, what's funny is when you walk into a store, a lot of the TVs are from last year. Even at this point in the year, most people don't know which one is this year. I'll just take the Sony. Okay, they need to know that this is the RGB. So you can put it, like you look at Best Buy's marketing now, FOMO, right? We talked about it. It's RGB. RGB, RGB, RGB. If you don't have that buzzword, a lot of you are like, well, I really want that. And, unfortunately, if not, people won't buy anything new. And that's kind of what we're looking at.
Agreed. Broke Brad. Thank you for the super chat, because
the
generosity of his generous super chat made him broke, and he wants an 83-inch OLED for $3,500. It's like, I'm broke. I need an affordable yacht. Can you give me a yacht for under $1 million? I don't have much money, guys. I got to keep it under $1 million, but I appreciate the question. So, the best 83-inch OLED, in my opinion, especially if you have light control, is the B series. Now, the B series definitely around closer to 3,000 at 83-inch by Black Friday.
Yeah, what are they
I don't
costing now?
think any more B5s are available. Let me double check here. Best Buy 83-inch B5. Yep, sold out. But when it sold, it was 2,300. Right now, you can get an open box C5 83-inch for 3,300. Right, but open box. I get
I
it.
wouldn't get an
Yeah.
open box.
Currently, the 83-inch B6 is 4,300. By Black Friday, it will be 3,500. But you're gonna have to wait for Black Friday or go open
Well,
box. Go ahead, Brian. What are your thoughts?
wait,
For
no, but I'm
3,500.
seeing right now. I'm seeing the C series 83 C series is right now $32.99.
Okay, there you go.
Brand new. So C5.
Where? Oh,
Best
C5.
Buy.
Yeah,
Yep,
Best Buy.
Best
There
Buy.
you go.
It's not open box. It's open.
Not open
so
box. There you go.
the open boxes are 3,100. So,
Okay.
yeah, 32. Yeah, C5. That's it.
C5,
The B
there you go.
series is great. It's just a step. If you can get the C5 over the B series, you definitely do.
Hey, his budget's 3,500. So let me know if you find that broke, Brad, and then
Yeah.
maybe you will be less broke because you save some money after that.
So I'm looking at some of the
Go ahead.
comments real
Go
quick
ahead.
before we get to this
Uh-huh.
one. Is I think that what's happened with RGB FOMO, and we saw this. It's the biggest jump in mini LEDs, or perceived biggest jump since you and I started doing this. Because 8K wasn't really ever going to be the big jump. I think what people are disappointed in, if you're leaving an OLED to any mini LED in existence, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. I mean, if you see even a little bit of blooming, both the X11L and the Bravia 9 Mark II have excellent local dimming, but a lot of you guys think there'll be zero blooming. It's actually just not possible. It's not possible. So I think that's where a lot of people are saying that this is hype, that these are crap. When I review TVs, I clean the palette. I don't compare things to OLEDs right off the bat. X11L has the best local dimming in the business.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, it's not. So to me, it's the best. So from what you've seen, I don't know if you've seen that in person, but if you're off angle, that's going to change. But if you're somebody who's used to an OLED where you can watch from freaking outside, and the viewing angle is perfect, you have to really approach them differently. You can't, even with pixel response and gaming, these TVs are getting trashed because they're not instantaneous. Get a monitor. You can't compare them all to OLED. Now, that's why we always say, should I get this one FOMO? At 65 inches at the same size, we never recommend a mini LED over an OLED. Almost never. They have to be larger. So 75 versus 65, 85 versus 77.
Or
I
98
would never
inch.
98.
98 inch.
So that's
End all.
where we talked about it. But I think that's where, not the confusion, I think the disappointment's coming in. You guys are seeing, and here's the problem, FOMO. A lot of these RGBs are going to have worse local dimming, as you mentioned earlier, than how TVs were a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because of the difference in the zone size, and like you said, less zones. And FOMO, I think to your point, if we went all zones, the TV's eventually going to be freaking 5 inches thick.
Well, this is
And
why
then
the Sony is so thick. They
Yeah,
got to
and then
cool
there-
it properly and all of that. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at even Hisense's TVs are tanks, and they're so thick. But if you're allergic to blooming, then just don't go near mini LEDs. Period. Or if you're coming from an OLED, you have to say to yourself, "I'm going larger. I'm going brighter." But it's just. I think that's where we're having some disappointment, as I can see in the comments. We have 300 in the chat. Please hit like, everyone. I know we're not
Thank
really
you.
talking about the shootout as much as we planned on. We're all over the map, but
Oh, we are definitely talking about the shootout. We're discussing this. Would it be great if there's a final face-off between the number one OLED and the number one RGB SQD after their respective shootouts? Thank you, Super Googly Glee. Googly for that super chat. I'm going to get it right. So we've done this before where you had the OLED, and then you had the best mini LED LCD TV. And every single time the judges are yelling and screaming, why did you guys even bother? It's terrible. It's so obvious. It's not even close because it's in a dark room. To have an LCD TV in a dark room, you've set it up to fail. LCD TVs today, whether it's RGB, mini LED, Bravia 9, Bravia 9 Mark II, R95H, designed for bright room watching, period. Not designed for reference room watching in a dark room. That's what OLED, it's infinite contrast. So if the winner of OLED goes against RGB, and I turn on the lights, and I have the R95H and the Bravia 9. Both of them have amazing anti-glare. And let's say the winner is the Bravia 9 Mark II or Bravia 8 Mark II again with no anti-glare. It would be destroyed by the reflections alone. Just the reflections would kill it. Let's say the S95H wins, right? Then you have brightness that will be more punchy in a bright room.
Well, and also, FOMO, when it comes to a calibrated image, we saw this. We put the 8K winner years ago, the Z series versus the Z9K and whatever Samsung TV was at the time. That calibrated image on an LED, I don't like that image.
Yeah.
It needs to have its local dimming on high. It needs that extra bump. Without it, they're naked and they look lifeless. OLEDs, even calibrated to oblivion where they're super accurate, still look great. And I think it's like having them both naked, but it's cold out. You know what I mean? Like, it's cold out. So I think if you were to do them side by side, get out of the calibrated image, throw them in standard or movie, and then see how they look, and I think you'd have a different. But with them calibrated, the OLED will destroy it. I don't care which TV it is.
And, stick on this topic. If you guys notice, there's one TV missing. Literally, the TV that many of us have proclaimed the best TV or best mini LED ever made, RGB or not, is the TCL X11L. And the super chat, Dice Cut asks, was TCL not invited to the shootout or something? If they were, why didn't they want the TCL X11L to be in the shootout? They must be afraid and scared. So I'm going to throw out my answer why, and then I'll let Brian take over because I think Brian has something to say about this. So TCL is not interested in participating in the shootout, not because of that they're scared or anything, but rather, and this is me putting my thoughts on it. So first of all, TCL is not interested. And so with respect to that, Robert respects TCL's request. Look, we're not interested. We don't want to participate. Don't count us in. That's why they're not there. Now, as to why, so this is me opining. I think it's because it doesn't do TCL any good to be in the shootout. One, if they win, they don't sell more TVs. I don't think they sell more TVs. Two, if they lose, they sell less TVs. Therefore, it's a lose tie situation. Tie meaning they're no better off winning. Lose meaning if they lose, everyone's going to pronounce it, oh my God, TCL attempted to go flagship, they lost. So it's the classic, if they don't say anything, better to wonder how good they are than to confirm that they're awesome or not so awesome. They would just rather go with whatever reviewers say. What are your thoughts, Brian?
So, for the record, Hisense and TCL have always been invited the last 7 or 8 years to the shootout. Even before Value Electronics carried any of them. Value Electronics carried the Hisense dual cell. They carried the QM8.
The dual cell was so bad.
Dual cell.
It was completely destroyed.
They've had the TVs, and they've always said, even before they actually had them, Robert and Wendy had no problem buying them and saying, let's let them compete. And in talking, not to Hisense, but to TCL and the crew we know over there, they're competitive as hell. They'd love to be in there. But going in there with a broken leg and they're not able to actually compete the way they'd want to. And the way, LG has said to me, are they calibrated for the track or for the road? All the strengths for these mini LEDs are completely neutralized in an OLED environment.
Yeah.
So the minute you see because if you have judges viewing it off angle and it blooms, that TV's done. Its brightness, all the things that, especially TCL's signature FOMO, was vibrancy, HDR impact, saturation. Those are all strikes in that competition. It's like being an athlete where you're too strong, but you're not fast enough, kind of thing. Or
you're too heavy. He's too buff.
Yeah, he's too strong, and I have to just run short. And as FOMO just said, winning the shootout, other than the last couple of years where there's all this Sony talk, winning it is great. Coming in any place is a defeat. So they don't get any benefit, and they don't need it. They're one of the number one brands in the world.
Well,
why would they try to risk that?
To your point, Sony has won for 5 years, and they went out of business and sold to TCL. So winning didn't help Sony.
I'll say that back when like the A9G won, it's great because Best Buy would have a sticker. You see it on Amazon, the winner of the shootout. But there is no second or runner-up sticker. And if anything, you know, the way we break the TVs down, I just don't think they feel the need to actually be involved in it. And that's fine, you know. Where I'm disappointed, because if, first of all, if this was an RGB only or SQD only shootout, I had them as the win. I think they would edge out the Bravia 9, maybe just a little bit. The TVs are that, to me, those are the two best TVs in the world right now, the Bravia 9 Mark II and the X11L. Now, if you make them 65 and you put them against an S95H, that's going to struggle. They'd have to be 85 FOMO. They'd have to be in their own set of competition.
Yeah.
In a bright room, or even a moderately lit room. Because there are things that these TVs can do the OLEDs can't. But they have to be able to do that outside of freaking filmmaker mode and non-calibrated, and that's not going to happen. They know that. So that's, to me, why they're like, let me be in standard, let me, you know. So it's not the race they're running.
And speaking of the race they're running,
I haven't spoken to them either, by the way.
Part of the shootout is shadow detail. If you've noticed, no one reviews a TCL X11L and called it the best shadow detail I've ever seen. In comparing the shadow detail to the QM7L in more content, I'm finding the QM7L to have more accurate shadow detail. Now, it doesn't mean that the X11L could not be calibrated to be accurate, but out of the box, the QM7L has more accurate shadow detail. Whereas the X11L does not. So already they've lost to Sony Bravia 9 Mark II already, right there.
And FOMO, that's where like the Bravia 9 Mark II would succeed, because it's better than the OLEDs and coming out of black. Right? So it's tuned for that reason. But if you're saying I want no blooming at all, it will crush some of that shadow. So you see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how you calibrate it. If it's not designed to come out of black that way, calibration won't change the thing. Right? It won't change anything. So they're saying I want no blooming. If you want no blooming, you've lost the shootout, because you can't retain shadow detail as well. Right? So the QM7L has less zones. It's not as bright. Of course it's going to be better in shadow detail. So is the QM7K. So it's like the more, so it's like, which do you want? You know, and it's very hard for any of these TVs. OLEDs have a hard time coming out of black. We've seen that. They either crush it or they raise it.
Yep. And I love this comment. For gaming, you could use the UFO test UFO site. And I don't disagree. So part of the issue is, if you're going to go through so it's all logistics. First of all, you're going to need a splitter that could send through 120 FPS, 60 FPS, 30 FPS, and be assured that's the signal the TVs are getting, because it has to go through a common source so that the source isn't the problem. It has to split properly, right? And then lastly, and this is the big one, is reference. What's reference, right? We've never had a score for UFO on our ratings. Does the UFO something similar to that, right? They have their own blur, and then they give it a score. But the reality is, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts about the UFO test? I don't mind a gaming shootout, but it has to be a dedicated day, and it has to be a whole battery of tests that I am not familiar with, honestly.
No.
Because it's almost like you're calling a TV gaming monitor test, essentially.
Yeah, well, and honestly, even the Spears and Munsell, all these are still tests, and we've seen the TV succeed in the tests and fail in real content. This year we saw the G6 was the brightest TV out there, but when they put on a real movie, it didn't do that. That's the same way with gaming. How does it feel when you play a game? The UFO test is just a test, but it's another thing like patterns. How does the TV really respond when you game? So when someone does that test and says the pixel response is crap in comparison to an OLED, no shit. Doesn't have instantaneous pixel response. So if you're expecting that, every mini LED is going to feel blurry compared to an OLED.
Right.
It's just the way it is. If you want that, you have to go with an OLED. But I'm telling you right now, when you look at how the response is to gaming, these manufacturers are eventually going to tap out of gaming completely. It's not helping them sell anything.
That gets me to the HDMI 2.2 soon enough. Yes.
But the monitor market is eating them alive, because you can get an ultra wide now QD OLED for $500 or $600 or $700. And if you look at Steam Analytics phone, was it 3% 4K? 3%? Yeah. So what is I think Samsung and all these guys are like, we can't keep color saturation at 165 hertz. The monitors aren't tone mapping, right? So there's so many different things the monitor doesn't have to do.
Right.
Eventually, they're going to just wipe their hands of it. And I think the mini LEDs are trying so hard, FOMO, to give you 165, 180. They really shouldn't. They should just stay at 120.
I think
and
the
stop
LG
checking
is
the
already
box.
there. I think LG is already there. They
Yeah.
have not fixed some of the things that hardcore gamers complain about because they're like, look, we're on 6 nanometer, all new processor. Let us just make this let's get this TV to win the shootout first, which is 99% of the use case is watching normal
Yeah.
content, reference,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about gaming later because we don't have
Well,
the resources to do that.
well, and real quick, when you go into the engineers that are working on these TVs, they're not gaming engineers.
No,
So
they are
now you're
not.
talking. Now you're talking about like, hey, why am I losing saturation at 165 hertz? You're like, well, I don't know, man. Your TV's doing 4K 165. You want the same. You want that to be the same as a 24, frame movie that's colorful. You're going to lose something. So, and they're spending so much time updating this crap. By the time it gets there, they've lost the money and they're just tapping out. So HEIG to me hasn't looked good in a couple of years.
Speaking of unhappy people, June Lean is unhappy. Thank you for the super chat, June. I finally returned the overhyped junk LCD RGB Bravia 9 TV, so not worth the price. I don't recommend it. So this is June doing a public service announcement for people who are thinking that the Bravia 9 Mark II is the be-all, end-all. He was not happy with it, and now I don't think it's... Okay, relative to all the other LCD TVs, they're all like that. Whether it's the X11L, so the things that you don't like about the Bravia 9 Mark II, I think applies to all these TVs on the list. Definitely let me know what TV you got instead. I am sure it is the G6, my hammer TV of the year. But a lot of people disagree. Some people love the Bravia 9 Mark II.
Well, going back to his comment, FOMO, I can't disagree with him because that's what he likes or doesn't like. I'll also just, my question to you, if you want to follow up, calling something over a price piece of junk, what are you coming from? Were you coming from another mini LED? Did you go from a Samsung? Tell me what you came from. If you came from an OLED, you're going to struggle. We say that in all of our recommendations because if that was the case from every review, don't buy it. It's not an OLED. So I'm not saying he's wrong. That's what he expects. But if you're telling me you're coming from a QM6K or a QM7K and you think the Bravia 9 Mark II is garbage, I have an issue with that because I know that.
Sure.
But let me know what TV you're coming from. Explain to me why it's overpriced junk. You spent the money on the super chat. Please tell me in the comments what you didn't like about it.
What were your expectations? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't say that he's wrong. He spent the money and he didn't like it. But tell me what you didn't like about it.
Yeah, if it didn't turn on, right? Dice Cut, thank you for the super chat. It's not a Vizio. Them local dimming zones are so low on the RGB TVs and the micro RGBs, whatever they want to call it. It's cutting corners for sure. So here's the double-edged sword.
It's not cutting corners.
They have to increase their processing. They're spending even more money to manage the number of LEDs. So the effective dimming zones are less, but the total number of LEDs that they have to control is actually more.
Yeah.
And so it is more resource intensive, if that makes sense. What I've done is do the calculations for effective dimming zones. This is the effective dimming zones, as far as I'm concerned, for contrast. So your contrast is directly related to your effective dimming zone count. Everything else, color, saturation, all of that could be improved, but for sure, for them to control that many RGB LEDs requires more processing and more money because each LED costs more than each individual dimming zone. So they're not cutting corners, rather, are they walking down the right path of investment? Because I think if they spent the same money on making the Bravia 9 better, then I think it would be, I don't know, I think it'd be more competitive with OLED. That's my thought.
Well,
but do you think they're cutting corners?
Well, no. No. It's what's cost effective is not the same as cutting corners. But when we talked to Scott from TCL that time, and we got introduced to SQD FOMO, the biggest thing they talked about was color crosstalk, which is everyone's talking about in the chat. But they were also saying going with SQD allowed them financially and space with the zones to fill more and to create higher zone counts. Where just by default, micro RGB, you're going to have less zones. TCL was known for high zone counts, so it went against what they wanted to do anyway. So that's why we were like, hey, I want more zones. If you're saying, like you said, if I have more horsepower but less, cylinders, you're like, well, I don't know if I want that, right? So I think that's where, local dimming is all mini LEDs have. If that gets compromised, just like when OLEDs had raised blacks, FOMO, they couldn't get black. What the hell was the point of an OLED? I think that's what people are feeling like. I don't think it's cutting corners. But guys, you have to understand, they're building these things every year. And I know money's tight, but TVs are one of the few things that are going down in price. TVs this size would be $15,000 years ago.
Yeah,
so
just a few years ago. Yeah.
A few years ago. I mean, but the fact is, I understand that you guys want that, but they're losing money. The box costs $400. The anti-static bag, they're not making the money. And as you saw, and not to go back into gaming, as you're seeing with Microsoft, they're done losing money.
Yeah.
Which is why we were so defensive on OLED. They could stop doing OLEDs tomorrow. If they stop making money, as you saw with Sony, things are going to happen.
Now, there's a great comment by Blue 4K XLR about TCL, us not mentioning them. But I'll hit the super chat real quick and we'll go to that one because this is a follow-up by Dice Cut. Thank you for the super chat, Dice. It needs to be a wrap on RGB backlight LEDs TVs next year because cutting corners with low dimming zones is not it. So ironically, they are spending more. However, because they have invested so much, TCL has its... Okay, so first let's start with TCL. They have their bases covered. Right.
Yeah, the RM9L.
If they see the RM9L continues to suck, they're not going to introduce it next year. They'll keep on doing SQD. Samsung needs something to get the troops excited because Neo QLED has been not selling as well as they had hoped near the end of its life. We're talking the QN95D, I think that was the last one, QN95C, QN90F. I mean, it was struggling against the best, the Neo QLEDs from Samsung. So that to shift things up with the R95H.
So actually, FOMO, stay there real quick. We'll stay with his comment, but think about what FOMO just said. Samsung had too many. They had the Neo QLED mini LED lineup. They had a 75 and 80 and 85 and 90 and 95. Then they had the 8K lineup. They've cut that, decapitated it to give you 2 RGB, micro RGB mini LEDs. Then I think you have an 80, and then you get into those direct lit matrix TVs. Even they've said enough is enough. They've cut it. Now, they've just... And look, the design of the R95 is not as sleek as the 8K TVs they had a couple of years ago. Those bezel-less, even they've realized that's not really showing up back in profit, FOMO.
Yeah.
So that's not cutting corners. That's just being realistic. That they just can't make money. Yeah. Dude, Samsung just moved from New Jersey to Texas.
No, Brian, Samsung just left China. The second largest TV market in the world. They're like, we're out. Yeah, they're not afraid of walking away.
And everyone will say this to me, don't feel bad for these companies. Look, I want as much competition as possible. But again, seeing what's happening with Microsoft, seeing what's happening with PS5, the companies are going to make money. It's just we're going to lose the products.
Yeah. Now, Blue 4K XLR, why is there almost no criticism of TCL? They aren't in the contest and you applaud them. I applaud X11L for what it is. For them not to participate in the contest, I see the reason why, but I don't criticize companies for not wanting to participate.
I don't understand the question. Why is there almost no criticism of TCL for what? Not taking part
for not participating in the shootout?
Well, simply because they're... And someone said, "Oh, it's like the Yankees not competing." They're not. Their function is not to be in a competition. They're not athletes. So we're not applauding them.
They're not referenced. Yeah. Actually, let me get you that point. They're not saying they're referenced TVs. The TV shootout has always been what TV best represents creators' intent. And TCL has never said that's what they do. We are an entertaining TV. We make things look amazing and pop and 3D and vibe and all that stuff. creators intent, forget them. They don't know what they're doing. We're going to make it even better. We're going to exaggerate creators intent. And so you're asking TCL to compete in an actual track they were not designed to. So I get it.
Yeah, but being like, look, Yankees are not going to the World Series either. They're talking about the sports, guys. This is as much as we discuss them like sports.
The Harlem Globetrotters.
This isn't.
No, Brian, you're criticizing the Harlem Globetrotters for not playing against the Lakers. And they're like, woo.
What was that movie, Dirty Work, where Chevy Chase said he lost money on Rocky 3? Like,
TCL is the Harlem Globetrotters, right? They can do trick shots no one else can, but they're not going to play the Lakers or the Knicks.
Look again. I guess you're missing the conversation. His follow-up comment: if TCL is so good, why not be in the shootout? So good at what? If I play basketball, I'm gonna go play soccer because I'm a good athlete. They don't have any desire. Look, I'll ask them. But they never really wanted to take part in it. Not that they're afraid, but if this was an LED shootout, they would go in their guns blazing. There's OLEDs involved. It's an enthusiast shootout. The judges don't like LEDs. I'm sorry. OLEDs have won for freaking 10 years. Why would you go in there to lose?
And the Bravia 9 Mark II was designed to match the reference monitor. That was how it was designed. The X11L was designed to impress people out of Best Buy. Two completely different TVs, right?
And I'll tell you, I've had OLED people come to the studio that see the X11L and love it.
Yep.
They love it. But those people are flexible. Here's what I'll say to you, FOMO. When you have people that love OLED but want something different or something new, that person's looking for flexibility, looking for HDR impact, they're looking for size, they're looking for something different. But if you love OLEDs, as a lot of the judges do, and it's reference, which is, the people calibrating love OLEDs, why set yourself up to walk into that buzzsaw for what? To lose? And then have you guys say, they suck. You can tell by the comments, that's what I told you, it was trash. Why? Because it couldn't beat the brightest OLED on the planet?
Yep.
Oh, you guys are funny.
Okay, Ernie, this is a question, a man after my own heart, because as an owner of the Bravia 9, I love this TV. Looking for a new TV in the 80-inch plus range, no preference between OLED or QLED, or OLED or Mini LED, LCD TVs, but with new tech, is it worth getting a 2026 model, or should I just stick with the 2024 Bravia 9 and save money? Stick with the Bravia 9, not because you're saving money. It is a sensational TV that will compete with all three TVs. Its weakness is only twofold. One, the Bravia 9 Mark II has better anti-reflection. If you have some light control, you're good to go. And off angle, the 9 Mark II is slightly better. That's it. The Bravia 9 is better than the 9 Mark II, I believe, in terms of shadow detail, the shadow, contrast resolution. I think it's slightly better. But other than that, I mean, the brightness on the 9 Mark II is slightly brighter, but you don't watch that kind of content. Who watches Alpha, right? So, Brian, what do you think?
But the funny thing, FOMO, the way you just described it, the way FOMO is describing how that TV competes, even in his live streams, is almost because the reference monitor is involved, FOMO.
Yes.
When the Bravia 9 Mark II was released, it looked terrible for the first 2 hours. Because it was in that environment. Once we got it into a different preset, even the cinema preset, it came to life. So the real difference, if you're a filmmaker fanatic, filmmaker mode, they all look the same. So if you want to watch something brighter and more impactful, what FOMO's trying to say too is that TV is good enough. Unless you're jumping up in size, we really don't recommend going up anyway. It's always been if you're jumping up in size. But if you're going the same size, you might as well wait, because that's a really good because you might, it's almost to your point, FOMO, you might find with everyday viewing it looks the same and you're going to be disappointed because you're expecting this a major jump and it's not going to show up in chips.
Oh dude, it's the specular highlights on chips, right? Starsky and Hutch. Dukes of Hazzard. Oh, those Daisy Dukes need to be brighter.
Terrible.
Hey, pull head from Mass. Wait. This name. Okay, wait. Is he Catholic? Pull head from Mass? Yeah. Need 100-inch TV. Is the UR9 the best choice versus the TCL Q8L Bravia 7 Mark II? Do you have a recommendation? I do, by the way. This is a great question. I only pay up if it's considerably better. What would you recommend? I have the new Trio with 9s and sub 9s. Oh, yes.
Nice
Okay,
job.
so already, first of all, I cannot recommend the UR9, given your choices. The UR9 is a raw, bright American muscle car is the best analogy. Imagine a Mustang GT 5.0, right? The top is down, you're driving all over town and playing Vanilla Ice. That's the UR9, right? It's raw, it's bright.
Let's kick it.
And no nuance, right? The tone mapping is just not good. Specular highlight and gradient detail, if you're looking for detail, it's not there. Skin tones are slightly off. And, you're not going to calibrate this TV, right? You don't get a Hisense to get it calibrated. But it's 100 inches of raw brightness, and, your shotgun is Vanilla Ice. So UR9, that's the TV. So I can't recommend that. The QM8L, it is between the QM8L and the Bravia 7 Mark II. The QM8L has better HDR impact than the UR9. The UR9 is just bright, but no subtlety. The QM8L does a great job of over brightening a little bit out of the box. It's not reference, but its skin tones are also slightly off. It's better than past QM8 series, but for HDR impact, the 8L is the value play. Like, boom. 7L is not quite as bright, but it's more balanced, I think. The 8L will have better black levels, slightly better specular highlights.
It's much more saturated.
It is an HDR impact machine.
Yep.
My personal choice for a little bit more, because I value skin tones, because I watch a lot of dramas, right? Whether it's Korean drama, J drama, whatever it is, right? And it's often an SDR, because Netflix, not everything is HDR. I watch it with the family. The Bravia 7 Mark II is the cinema movie. If you watch any kind of content from chips all the way to any streaming anywhere, the Bravia 7 Mark II will nail it out of the box, and it matches perfectly with the Trio 9, sub 9s. They work perfectly together, one ecosystem. The 8L is definitely a good HDR impact to wow the neighbors, but it's what the UR9 should have been is the 8L, in my opinion. I think the UR9, they didn't have time to bake it. I think the software is just way too rough. It's inexcusable, in my opinion, and that's why I call the UR9 mid. I have the UR8. I'm testing it now, and you're going to see it against the QM7L, and you guys can decide. But I think TCL really hit it out of the ballpark this year with SQD. The Bravia 7 Mark II is a cinema enthusiast choice, if that's what you're serious about. Because skin tones, out of the box, it's done. As all Sony mid-tier and flagship TVs are. Its skin tones is what it's focused on. I wish it has anti-glare, but then none of the other TVs have anti-glare either. So I don't know, man. I got to go with the Bravia 7 Mark II on this one, just because, or the 8L, depending. If you watch a lot of sports, save your money, get the 8L. If it's mostly drama, Netflix, just the basic streaming content, I love the skin tones on the Sony this year. Brian, your thoughts?
I mean, you lost me with
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice.
All right, stop.
You're in a Mustang. It's
listen.
an American muscle car. Here's that white rapper from the 90s.
Rolling in my 5.0.
I mean, I'm not as hard on the UR9. I do know that their tone mapping is, the TVs are just very bright. They've really gone for brightening. But the thing is, I haven't seen any of these at 100 inches other than the Bravia 7 Mark II.
Right.
So they're all, mini LEDs are all going to perform. We learned that more this year, FOMO, that while OLEDs are perceptually brighter because of screen size, mini LEDs definitely are. So if you want the brightest TV of that group, it's going to be the UR9 for HDR impact. But for nuance, the Bravia 7 Mark II, as far as filmmaker mode, is going to be your more film-based one. QM8L is a baby X11L. So you have to try to figure out which ones you like. But I haven't really spent enough time with all three of those at 100 inches.
I should be getting
Brad
the
spent
Bravia.
all kinds of money.
I should be getting the... Yeah, that's why he's broke. Thank you again, Brad. I'll be getting the Bravia 7 Mark II head-to-head against the Bravia 9 Mark II and the X11L after the shootout. So I'm getting that set up for you guys. You guys are going to have fun with that.
Me
Amazon
too. And I have the 85-inch UR9. So
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It'll be in there. It'll be in there.
The Amazon has, thank you, Broke Brad. Amazon has the G4 83-inch for $3470. Buy the C5 83 for $3200 or get the G4. Okay. So the G4 is the last best MLA TV. With the G4, LG solved the off-angle color issues that came back on tandem OLED. There's a lot to be said about the G4. Many people think the G4 is better than the G5.
It's as good as it got in some ways.
Yeah, it's maximum OLED, and they like the MLA better than tandem. The G6 needed that nanometer, that 6 nanometer. I prefer you get the G4 over the C5 because the C5 has the same issues the G5 has. The G4 apparently doesn't have those same issues for whatever reason. Get the G4. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this year we're finally seeing the C6H almost be identical to the G6 FOMO, not just in terms of brightness, but also processing. Same processor, same panel. The C5 is not close to the G4. Or, you know, even though the C5 is bright, it wasn't like the C5 equaled the G4.
Yeah.
So, and you're also, by getting the C5, you're kind of not getting anything cutting edge. You're getting just a really good OLED, where the G4, you're getting the last MLA. It's very bright and it's impactful. I think it's still, that's the one I would go for.
Getty, love this question. Bravia 9 in the shootout. Why? There's a Bravia 9 Mark II. Getty, it's actually the Bravia 9 should be in the shootout. Why isn't it in the shootout? Is my opinion, but it's not in the shootout. I put it there for context. I wish it was though. Yeah. Thank you, Getty, for that suggestion.
Would win it all.
Tell Robert, pull it out, pull out the Bravia 9, baby.
Get that Z9D out of the garage too while we're at it.
Mr. Upscale, man, thank you for your super chat. So disappointed the X11L is in the shootout. You and me both, buddy.
Me too.
I need content before I spend $10,000. Or context. Help me, Foamy Wine Kenobi. You're my only hope. Yeah. Okay. Here's your context. If you watch somewhat bright, normal TV shows, they're not like Batman, where it's dark scenes, the Joker, right? If you watch horror, dark dramas, the X11L is not the TV for you. That's not its strength. Actually, the QM7L, I think, does a better job for dark scenes. I mean, this is kind of heretical. The QM7L is for SDR, dark scene movies. I mean, it does it so well. I think it was designed to do that very well, if you're a TCL fan. But if you're watching just medium lit like Chips, Bionic Woman, and brighter, then the X11L comes to play, especially if you're watching a lot of sports that's bright, you want the contrast in a bright room. But even then, if your room is bright, you're going to have reflections. And this is my disappointment with X11L. You're designed for a bright room. Where the heck is your anti-reflection? Like, wait, you have it on your QM6K, your cheapest mini LED. You have anti-reflection, and you don't put it on your flagship. If I'm going to pay $4,000, I might as well pay an extra $200 for the anti-reflection. I'll pay $4,200. So, Mr. Upscale, man, the X11L is, for me, in a dark room where you're measuring HDR brightness, it's untouchable. It has the best blooming control. It has specular highlights, gradient detail. It's a Bravia 9 Mark II clone, except slightly better specular highlights. However, the Bravia 9 Mark II will have slightly more accurate skin tones, better anti-glare. But for $10,000, you're really stuck with the Bravia 7 Mark II at 98 inches. I would spend, for $10,000, the Bravia 7 Mark II at 98 inches. Brian, what would you spend the $10,000 on?
X11L.
All right, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, X11L to me is the only thing you compete with is the Bravia 9 Mark II. The Bravia 7 Mark II is excellent, but the X11L is better in my opinion.
But you talk about brightness. That's where your competition
I just
is.
think right? I just think it's local dimming. I think everything about it is just equal to the Bravia 9 Mark II. That's the matchup. To me, everything else kind of steps back.
Unfortunately, it doesn't come in a 98 inch.
Comes in at
$10,000. Well, $10,000 is his price point. I want him to max the size.
You want the size? Yeah. You're right. Yeah, and we thought there was going to be a size a 100-inch or 98-inch version of that. There hasn't been one, is there?
But you know, there's a 98-inch.
These guys are going nuts, man. This blue 4K guy, they spent the whole stream talking about TCL.
TCL, how much he loves it.
Oh, I don't know what he's talking about. The whole freaking thing. This guy, what's up, man?
Super Google Googly. I want to say Googly Glee, but your name is such a tongue twister. Remember, Robert said he prefers the 83-inch S95F, which uses the same panel as the G5. I replaced my G5 with it. My calibrator unlocked it to 3,500 nits when he calibrated the D65 and 4,000 nits at cool color preset. Now the brightest WOLED ever. Yes, so let's talk about... It already
was. The S95H was already brighter than the G5 without unlocking it.
Yeah.
It just, the thing is, it's wild though. So you can unlock it all you want, but if you can't tone it back down, I mean, the thing was blindingly bright, but can you knock it back down to be not burn in? By the way, would you just defaulted your warranty?
I suspect Super Googly replaces his TV every year, like Robert Conrad. So he's okay.
Yeah, man, burn it in, baby. Let it burn.
Burn it in, baby. Unlock it, have fun. Remember, he's in Hong Kong. Take that
warranty right off.
I don't even think Hong Kong has a warranty.
No, definitely not.
I love it. Yeah, tell us what you do with that brightness.
Man, how often do you buy?
I love it. I love the enthusiasts like myself who will damage their TVs for the story. Like me peeling off the I had so many people ask me, FOMO, didn't you Google how to peel off the coating? And then went over the list of things you could do that wouldn't result in toxins being released in my face. I'm like, I didn't even think about that, right? I just pulled it off and got poisoned.
He was like, the funny thing is, Luke did that in like 20 minutes. FOMO's doing this in a smaller room, and he's like, I don't know, man, I don't feel so good. It's like, go outside.
Right, yeah, there was no ventilation. It was a hot day.
That's asbestos.
I think I just cut my life short by 5 years. June Lean, thank you for the follow-up super chat. Already owned the original Bravia 9 from 2024. Yeah. If you already own the 2024 9, there was no reason to get the 9 Mark II for sure. Can't really tell the difference. Well, you saw my live stream. There was no difference other than off angle.
I can tell a huge difference. If you put it in professional and you leave it there and you watch stuff that isn't going to push it, it's going to look similar.
Well, June, the difference is vivid mode. It's vivid mode.
Yeah,
or standard.
At least going standard, man.
But professional mode.
And that's the thing is professional. That's the thing. You're buying a Sony to be accurate, and it can only push professional so far. So yeah, if you bought it and put it, but to say it's overpriced junk, because the context is important, but it's as good as the Bravia 9. It just should be much better. I get it, but you can't watch it in professional only. You got to push it.
June, if you saw my live stream, I had the Bravia 9 against Bravia 9 Mark II. They looked identical until vivid mode, and we had bad Superman movie, and it elevated it.
But even when you put it in, even when you put it in cinema, it killed it. It couldn't be in professional. We spent an hour. And I was like, please go in something else. You don't have to go in vivid. Just go into another preset.
And I agree with June Lean. If you watch professional filmmaker, don't get the Bravia 9 Mark II. The Bravia 9 Mark II is like Dolby Vision 2. It elevates HDR movies in a way that it looks more impactful. But if you're watching you want creator's intent, I think the Bravia 9 for creator's intent has already nailed it. And the Bravia 9 Mark II is for people who want to watch vivid mode, standard mode, or if it's graded in 4,000 nits, it gets there. The Bravia 9 cannot quite get there, but to Julien's point, how many movies are graded to 4,000 nits? No more than 2, maybe 3, right?
It's just hard to recommend buying a 2-year-old TV too. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's not even available. I would still recommend if you could buy it.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's a Zenith.
Oh wait here. Here we go. Sorry, I almost skipped you. In Excess, one of my favorite groups out of
You're one
Australia.
of my kind.
I own the Bravia 9 Mark II 85-inch. I am switching to the G6 83-inch, the Hammer, my HDR Impact TV of the year still. The TV is not junk. It is made for a bright room. If you have a dark room, go OLED. Backlight, working, easy to see. If local dimming is off, you lose RGB.
Why
So
would you turn local dimming off?
well, you could. I think the local dimming you can toggle
You can
between
go in.
white and RGB. Remember that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
but
that's what I
I
mean.
don't.
Yeah. But definitely, if you have the 83-inch G6 as an option, that's I prefer OLED up to the size that's available, and the G6 really gets that impact. And I was very impressed at what it did in vivid mode.
These
I
guys are
can't
still.
wait to get that 75-inch Bravia 9 so I could compare,
Yeah,
or
my
Bravia 9
85
Mark
inch
II.
is on the way. Apparently, Sony's saying that 85 is going to be here, so
Oh, it's in the mail.
it's in the mail. Yep. So, but I
Junlin,
mean, like,
follow up. Thank you for that, my friend. He's responding to In Excess. I don't like watching in bright rooms, so I guess that's why I don't like the Bravia 9 Mark II RGB. Definitely designed for regular lit room watching. Dark room watching, that's what the A95L 77 inches for. So OLED fits my need better anyway. Yep. No, I agree. We've always said that. If you have light control, start with OLED. And I don't even think you need the G6, by the way. I mean, I think the B series in a dark room is going to be great. Here we go. Hal, thank you for the super chat. Is the G6 game mode still washed out colors? I'm in the UK. Get the 5-year warranty. Nothing seems well made anymore. Thanks for your excellent channel. You know, is it a game specific thing? Because when I gamed on the G6, you guys saw it compared to the Bravia 8 Mark II. I thought it looked fine, but maybe in certain games it's washed out. Should we get the new remastered Assassin's Creed Black Flag and test it with that? I don't know. I mean, is it HGIG that's washed out? I'm not familiar with the washout issues because I found just gaming on the PS5 is fine. Brian, have you heard about
I
the
think
washout?
I think when you jump up to 165 hertz, if that's what you're talking about, you're going to have less saturation. It's just the way it's going to be. I mean, it's washed out. I didn't find it to be washed out, but I mean, if that's what you're worried about, where I think people said it couldn't do red or deep red, I didn't find it to be a problem. But that's not going to really improve. They're not going to add saturation back in. That's going to be a process limitation. And you're going to see the same thing on the Samsung.
And here's something for you to consider. The Samsung S95F and the F95H, I believe, is the better gaming TV. If you are a gamer, get the Samsung S95H, but it doesn't have the 5-year warranty. So now you're going to pay up for that warranty. But if you're a gamer, the 95H is the way to go.
But see, the problem with the S95H and the S95F is that if you get out of the original preset and you jump into any of the others, they're so bright, they look washed out. Like they're not more colorful. They're so it's like you have to almost stay in the filmmaker, because I have a bunch of them.
HGIG, yeah, standard.
Oh, HIG. I mean, it's just a standard preset with maybe tone mapping to active, but the other presets, though they're bright, they're unusable. Like the clouds will just disappear, and you can't really scale them back. So, I mean, game modes are always going to be not as colorful as the other presets. I mean, it's just the way it's going to be. If you think that's washed out, mini LED are going to be washed out. I mean, it's unfortunate game modes. Jump out of gaming.
Well, to your point, gaming and movies. Let's get to the decision then. S95H or G6, and I'm going to limit it to QD OLED versus WOLED. So I'm assuming 55, 65, and 77 inch. Personally, I would choose the S95H. Even though the G6 has brighter HDR impact when I'm testing, and that's why it's my benchmark for HDR impact, overall, in a mixed use room, I prefer the Samsung S95H. I just like how QD OLED looks in certain content. I like that I don't change game modes. I stay in one game mode. I like how the N95H makes it easier for me to stay in that game mode, and I'm good to go. The G6, if I watched more sports, I'd probably go with the G6 because it's really bright. Now the 95H is only slightly behind. Both are bright, but I would go with the 95H for gaming more, because I find, just talking to other reviewers as well, they prefer the 95H for gaming, so I'm going to defer to their judgment on that. But the G6 is the better HDR impact if you like watching in vivid mode. The G6 Vivid is better than 95H standard and better than the 95H dynamic. The G6 Cinema Home and Vivid is just outstanding. But if you only watch filmmaker mode and you want a game, then go with the 95H. Because you're not using the G6 for what it's designed.
I mean, for me, they're a tie. It's just if you want Dolby Vision, go with the G6. If you want HDR10 Plus, go with the S95H. That's how close they are to me. S95H for me will be here tomorrow. They're delivering it tomorrow, so I'll know more then. But for right now, I would just go with whatever format you like. The quality of life features are important.
True.
That's a great picture. You look
Tizen
so happy.
versus WebOS. I know. So professional. This is a job
That's
interview.
a great picture. You're like, hey,
Epster, you're hired. Will Sony and Panasonic have the same quality control used since exporting their TV business? Also, LG G6 or Panasonic Z95B 77-inch buying for sports, movies, dark room gaming. I go with the G6. The 95B was not designed for gaming first. It was designed to be movie watching. The G6 does that fine. The 95B is really is a good movie watching TV, but it's between the Fire TV and the gaming, that those shortcomings, if you're doing both, get the G6. And it has a 5-year warranty. 95B doesn't have the 5-year warranty. Let's see. Will Sony and Panasonic have the same quality control they use since exporting their TV business? So let's talk about Sony. Sony is now mostly owned, not Sony, but Bravia. The Sony TV division, called Bravia Inc., is now a joint venture with TCL. We don't know what the quality control will be like. We will find out in the next 2 years, so it's too early to tell. Prediction, I think it should be similar, but that's just a prediction. I don't know. Panasonic has outsourced its distribution model to Skyworth to sell the cheaper TVs here. Quality control, I think, will be the same. Panasonic quality has, personally, I feel, has been slightly on the decline the last few years. It has nothing to do with Skyworth. I just think it's hard to make TVs, and you're outsourcing it to someone else, and you're constantly having to fight cost. And so you're cutting costs, and QC is a cost. So, I think TVs, if you're looking for reliability, get a 5-year warranty on all of them. You got to play it safe. What are your thoughts with the G6 or the Z95B? Because I know you reviewed both of them as well.
Yeah, the Z95B is probably underrated in gaming because it did do 144 hertz last year where Sony was limited. So it kind of gave you the Sony image being accurate and then some gaming. The G6 is just a more vibrant. And the G6 is a newer TV. Z95B is last year as it carries over. Good luck finding it, by the way. It's hard to know how these new companies are going to be supported, FOMO. Panasonic has told me that they're still in the mix. I haven't heard anything else. It's kind of hard to recommend buying something if you don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know, man. The G6 is the safest bet because that company's still fully LG.
Now we'll get to the other super chats. I wanted to get to this next topic. I didn't realize we'd go on so long. You guys are so awesome. HDMI 2.2 is coming up. We're currently at HDMI 2.1. I created this chart so you guys can see whether 2.2 is worth even having on next generation TVs in 2027 and beyond. So let's go real quick down the list.
Zeno?
2.2 maximum bandwidth. You're going from 48 gigabits per second to 96 gigabits per second, and this allows you to have higher resolution, higher frame rates. So uncompressed 4K, you're going from 144 hertz typical on a 4K on 2.1 to 240 hertz, 10 to 12 bit, 4K, full 444 gaming. So if you're a PC gamer, PC mode, you can get all of this uncompressed 4K, right? And we're going to have a talk about that. Brian has a lot to rant about that. And then you can have uncompressed 8K. You can game
nice.
8K
just
60
in time,
hertz, right? Just in time.
Just in time for the death of all the 8K TVs.
And then
I can't wait to rock 12-bit on 10-bit panels. Can't wait to do
Brian, refresh 4K 480.
Nice. Awesome.
Wow, right? And then sync feature, so you have lip sync improvements. Not a big deal. And then audio return ARC. So you go from eARC, which is enhanced audio return channel, to enhanced audio return channel. So enhanced eARC, where E stands for enhanced. Okay, why is this a benefit? Higher bit rate means it could actually send lossless to your TV. Okay, so let's go back and talk about all of this. First of all, maximum bandwidth, 96 gigabits per second. So we're talking gaming. Everyone who's not a gamer, and not just not a gamer, anyone who's not looking at PC gaming, this is not for you. HDMI 2.1 is more than enough for PS6, for Xbox, whatever, Helix, right? That next generation console, 2.1, more than enough. 2.2, 96 gigabits per second is what it's capable of. That means for your TV to support this, it has to upgrade its entire SoC to handle that, which is not cheap. So if you're complaining about TVs being expensive, it's only going to get more expensive to support this. But why do you want support for 96 gigabits per second? So here's where Brian comes in. Uncompressed 4K, 240 hertz, 444, 10, 12-bit gaming, VRR, G-Sync, turn everything on. And let's say your TV has that for an affordable price. Brian, what is the gaming rig you need to play at these resolutions and frame rates?
What are you running? Pac-Man at 7,000 frames? I mean,
Doom, 1999.
Not even Doom 3. You're running Doom. Right now, it's so interesting that we're talking about this now, when you're seeing like reviewers like SkillUp or ACG saying that they're running games like Assassin's Creed with a 4090 at 1440p, just pure 4K, no DLSS at 60 frames. It's a new game. It's a remaster. It's a new game. So basically, if you're running that at 4K, you're not getting 60 frames. So you have to use DLSS, which has become a crutch.
Wait. What is your graphics card again? What's your GPU?
I have the 4090 and the 5090.
Okay. So here we are.
Even with those, and people will say, no, you can just do DLSS 4.5. You can upscale it from 720p. That's nonsense. I'm saying native 4K is like dying with gaming. They're not even designing it that way. The game developers are so lazy. They're relying on DLSS. But DLSS is not going to give you 240 hertz at 4K. Not in a modern
frame generation, right? Frame generation and DLSS.
Yeah, but you can do even the freaking Forza Horizon, whatever the hell we're playing now, isn't as well optimized as it used to be. So even with a 4090, I'm getting 80 frames. These graphics cards there's not even new ones coming out yet. So it's like, again, it's going so... Guys, we've all been in this a long time. The content's not even here. 8K TVs are gone. I've gamed in 8K at 120. It's barely noticeable. It's I know you're going to say you want it.
Brian, just for the TVs to support this, even though you will never use it, is going to add at least $1,000 to the price of the TV. Just for the TV to support these performance points.
And this is what we're going to get back into. It's going to end up being where now which SoC is going to carry that? Now, is it going to have 2 or 4? We're going to get back into that nonsense. We just got 4 HDMI 2.1. And we're going to get back into explaining, no, I'm not getting... Look, even the Dolby Vision 2 stuff. By the time Dolby Vision 2 actually arrives, you wouldn't have bought an LG or a Sony because it doesn't have it. And then you might find out it doesn't mean anything. It's always been a problem. And I wanted HDMI 2.1 because we were stuck at 60. Once we broke through that, I was happy. I don't want it. I don't care. Just fix... As Dwayne Davis will say... Before we keep upgrading, can we fix the problems we have now?
Yep.
Can we fix what we have now?
Add more pixels? Yep.
These consoles can't even do 4K. PS5 Pro and the Xbox Series X can't even do 4K. So now you want the PlayStation 6, which is going to be over $1,000 if it comes out. We have memory shortages. It's just I don't care. I don't care. Because I know that the reality of me trying to run a game like Dishonored from 10 years ago, I'm stuck at 4K 160, maybe there, 240.
Yep.
You know, in FOMO, even with the TCLs, 1080p at 280, okay, we were running it for what? It looks awful. So we're just not there. If you want 1080p, maybe if you want to do that, I can't game it. I don't know.
You know what's the most ridiculous, pointless upgrade. And so, besides the resolution and the frame rates that the TVs, the GPU cannot support, the TVs cannot support for the 0.1% of the population. The worst one is the audio return. eARC, enhanced eARC for higher bitrate lossless. So if you guys don't know, all streaming content source is lossy. So this means to even take advantage of this, the source cannot be your TV. If your TV is feeding audio through eARC to your system, it's already lossy. This enhanced eARC doesn't make it lossless. It's your source. That means the source is a high quality Blu-ray player or a high quality Kaleidoscope. Who feeds that into their TV to watch lossless on TV audio? Already you've lost. So it makes no sense that they even have this at all. I don't understand this feature because from the source, if your TV is the source for eARC streaming, it's lossy. Any streaming is lossy. The only source that's not lossy is disc, Kaleidoscope, or similar, right? Plex, whatever. But then you don't put it into your TV because you're setting a pure lossless source so you could play it through TV audio? How does that even make sense? So,
then also, phone when we got the uncompressed 4444 12-bit on our 10-bit TVs. Some of them are 8-bit.
Yeah.
So then now you're waiting for, and then we're waiting for the 12-bit movie. I mean, like it's ridiculous. It's not needed. I know again you need something to buy, but this one is real, especially coming now when all these gaming companies are dying.
I think this is clearly for gaming monitors, very. But then you have eARC. Like gaming monitor doesn't need eARC, but whatever. But I think next generation gaming monitors could take advantage of some of this. They're competing with the DisplayPort 2. I get it. But for TVs, the TVs cannot support 2.2. The capabilities being promised on 2.2, and not to mention more expensive cables. It's just craziness. But thank you, Super Google Glee, for that super chat. Don't care about longevity. As long as it lasts a year, I am good. So he's talking about modifying his S95 until it blows up. It'll last a year. Style. I love your style. If it breaks, I'll get the X11L. No, you know what you should do? Since you're near China, if you're in Hong Kong, ask the group, can I mod the X11L to be even brighter? 11,000 nits, forget that. Let's go 14,000. Unlock that baby. I love it. I love these kind of enthusiasts where money is no object. Hey, Broke Brad. Apparently money is no object for Broke Bad either. Final question. Hey, keep it coming, my friend. S90F, 83-inch at Walmart, $3,200. Is the G4 better than the S90F? Yes, it is. It is better.
No, Brad's going backwards.
He's going back. So
Brad playing a shell game. I want a C series. Wait, but there's a G4 MLA. Well, S90F. It's basically a C series.
I would choose the G4 over the S90F. I would. It is a better TV for many reasons. It's LG's flagship, very well built. It's got the 5-year panel warranty, all of that. S90F is a C series repackaged by Samsung at 83 inches. It's not. Don't do it, Brad. Get the G4. Hey, Getty, he's still around, my friend. Can't see myself buying the Bravia 9 Mark II LCD when there are so many OLED options. I absolutely agree. $3,600 for a 65-inch? That's the Bravia 9 Mark II. That's a big note for me to come on Sony. And this was how the Bravia 9 was when it was released originally, right? It was like over 3,000 as well, I think. So wait a few years, Getty. I think it'll drop for sure.
And they released too late in the year, so that they have to. What's funny about Sony is, while it appears that they've released behind everybody else, their TVs were in store first. So they were actually there in store. So
this is a great question. I get this all the time from Slim Down. We're talking about upscaling. So Sony TVs are known for being the king of upscaling low resolution content, especially DVDs, for people that own for people that own an LG or Samsung instead. Would Apple TV Box or Shield Pro do somewhat a good job as a Sony TV for upscaling older content? No. So let's get this out of the way. A modern LG or Samsung will upscale better than any external, unless it's something like a, what is that?
NVIDIA Shield.
An external processor. What's that processor? That's $12,000.
Oh, the
Mad VR.
not Kaleidos, Mad VR.
Mad
Oh
VR.
my
Okay.
God.
So Mad VR, right? You got a 4090, 5090 GPU. It is $10,000. It will upscale better than any TV. Okay. Apple doesn't upscale per se. They might remaster content to a higher resolution. That's different. Actual upscaling, the modern flagship TV does a better job. I believe they do a better job, including LG or Samsung, than a tiny $100 streamer. And even the Apple TV box. I would choose an LG or Samsung to upscale your DVD content. So yes, again, Apple TV is great for watching the remastered content because it's been remastered, not necessarily upscaled. But I would just get LG or Samsung. Their upscaling is pretty decent. So, Sony's lead there has shrunk significantly, I think.
Well, plus those boxes are more about edge enhancement anyway, not upscaling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
and even then, the edge enhancement on the TV, I think is better.
There's artifacting too.
Okay, here's a question I don't think I could answer. Can you connect more than one Bluetooth headset to the X11L, like the LG OLEDs? Because when people are sleeping, it's nice to still be able to share a movie. I believe, okay, so it uses, the Google TV operating system. I think the Google TV operating system on the modern MediaTek chipset, the answer is yes. Because it's both a function of the SoC and Google capability. And I know you could do it on the Bravia 9, like last year's Sony's, you could do that, more than one Bluetooth headset. I think you could do that on the X11L as well. So I'll double check, but I think the answer is yes. Especially because the X11L uses the latest MediaTek chip. Thank you for that super chat. Next up, Robert Conrad. You're still here, my friend. I watch in a bright and a dark room. G6 works in both, just FYI. Absolutely. I watch the Weather Channel in filmmaker mode now. He's afraid of burn-in. If you guys don't know, he used to watch the Weather Channel in vivid mode. Got burned in on the G5. He's pulling back.
Like a week.
Non-static vivid or cinema home, baby. Yeah, you know what? Vivid on the G6 is phenomenal. I think you're good. But if you want to risk burn-in, I think cinema home would be good to watch the Weather Channel, Robert. But yeah, Robert has quite the journey. Love it, Robert. Thank you for that update. Pull ahead, Fromas. If you watch Business Channel 10 hours a day with a ticker on the bottom, would OLED get burned in? Robert Conrad got burned in watching the Weather Channel, so the answer is very likely in vivid mode.
Look at his name though. Pull head. You're like, is that church? He's like, pull head from your ass.
I thought pull. When I saw Fro, I was like, he's got an afro. He's in mask, and I couldn't envision what's happening here.
We would be
pull his afro from mask.
Pull your head from your ass. By the way. Sorry, good.
So yes, OLED in vivid would, but if you put it on eco mode, any of the various eco modes, that's so. If you activate all of LG's or Sony or Samsung's, what they call brightness, pixel shift, logo dimming, turn all of that on, you should be fine. Stay away from vivid.
But I'll tell you this though, pull your head from ass. That's a lot of hours to watch.
That is
same content. What really results in burn-in is the same content. So unless static. So they've always said, even with these safeguards, unless you can avoid burn-in all day by just switching to another channel that has a ticker someplace else. If you're staying on the same channel of 10 hours a day, it's just OLEDs aren't a good choice. LEDs will burn in too, by the way. But it's
you said the airport. You see the burn on the airport.
Yeah. I just wouldn't use a high-end OLED for that. I know Robert likes the Weather Channel for some reason. They must have some cool graphics, but as far as like a business channel where you're watching a ticker go by, it's just not the best choice. I mean, that's where an LED would serve you better.
QM8K, my friend. QM6K or QM8K? Those are the TVs for you. I have every confidence recommending that. And I think I'm caught up on my super chats. Then we can get to some of your questions, and then the day is up. MTL26, thank you for that, my friend. For 83 or 85-inch upgrade from a Sony 900H, which is the one that got me blacklisted from Sony as a reviewer.
That was the original HDMI 2.1 TV, actually.
Yes, that was the nightmare. Would Bravia 7 Mark II suffice, or 9 Mark II, or G6 S95H upgrade from a little bright at day, dim light at night? I care about skin tones. So a little bright during the day. You need to get either the G6 or the Bravia 9 Mark II. So look at your N900H. If you see reflections and it annoys you, get the 9 or the G6 or the S95H, right? Because those three have great anti-reflection. The 7 Mark II does not. And so the upgrade right there is removing the glare. So between those three, at the 83 to 85-inch size, the S95H on the wall, you have the bezel, looks great. On a table, the bezel looks kind of silly. So you're down to the G6 or the 9 Mark II. During the day, dim light at night room, skin tones, 9 Mark II. Because if you're sensitive to the OLED issues, because some people are to LG, you may or may not be, I don't know. I'm fine with it. I would choose, on the wall, I would choose the S95H 83-inch because I love that anti-glare in a bright room. I think it works well. My number 2 would be the 9 Mark II because I'm fancy. I would get the walnut veneer for $400 because something that big is so prominent, and that walnut veneer on the wall looks so amazing as a frame. I've seen it. It looks like solid wood. It is beautiful. The G6 is right there. But if I was to choose, I start with the S95H on the wall. On the table, it would be either the 9 Mark II or the G6, because 9 Mark II has a great looking stand. G6 doesn't even have a stand. You can't even get the G6 with a stand. The stand, there's like a 3-month wait list or 3-month backlog for the stand.
They come with a stand with the smaller sizes, but not the big sizes.
Yeah, the G6 doesn't come with any, tiny sizes, right? But not that 85 or 83-inch size. Okay, so I would choose S95H for the wall. For the table, the Bravia 9 Mark II. What would you choose, Brian?
I mean, I think the way you laid it out is perfect. All I can tell you is you're at the perfect upgrade path, because the 900H was a great entry level TV that year. You're gonna love this jump. I mean, I'm really happy about this jump for you. That's gonna be great. FOMO, I gotta tap out.
Yep. All right, tap out, my friend.
I got some TVs to film. Everybody,
go.
Thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Later.
All right. Thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Of course.
All right. And, okay. I'm going to address this real quick. Blue 4K. When you say things TCL does not have to compete because it's a lose, lose, or lose tie. So remember, I am not condoning TCL not compete. I'm telling you what they are thinking. Because the question is, why would TCL not compete at the shootout? TCL's marketing division sees it as a lose, lose, or lose tie. That's their marketing division. I want them to compete, but I don't have a say in it. So keep that in mind. I'm not telling TCL not to compete. TCL made that decision. I'm telling you why marketing made that decision. Marketing does not see any benefit at all. So that's why. I could be wrong. Maybe marketing dropped the ball. I have no idea what they're talking about, but at least I'm giving you some rationale why they did decide. But yeah, I'm definitely not defending TCL. But then because, I'm a reviewer, I want all the TVs to compete, right? Doesn't mean it's good for them. And some predictions. All right, let's start predicting. I know, wait till the end to predict. We'll wrap it up with predictions, guys. Mozart predicts, I think the S95H will win the shootout, but I just wonder if the G6 can close the gap on the Bravia 8 Mark II carryover. So the Bravia 8 Mark II carries over from last year. It's defending its crown as the 2025 King of TVs. I too believe the S95H will win this round. Very close though. But then again, the Bravia 8 Mark II improved its HDR from last year. Where it lost to the S95F in HDR, I think it has closed the gap there. So it'll be closer than we expect. The G6, at best, second place at best, mostly because I don't know in a reference environment if it can come close enough to the reference monitor. I just don't know. My prediction is 95H by a hair, Bravia Mark II right there, and the G6 much closer than it was last year compared to the G5. Again, the winner is which one most closely matches the reference BVM 3110 that is built by Sony but used by most Hollywood studios. So that's something to think about. All right, let's see any other comments before we jump out of here. Oh, Slim Dunn snuck in one more super chat. Let's take care of that real quick. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Almost missed this one. Okay, we'll start with this. Slim Dunn, thank you. People need to get them a cheap TV if all they plan to watch is the business channel or the news channel on an OLED. OLED should mostly be for watching movies and TV shows in a darker room. That's when the infinite contrast comes in. Yeah, it actually looks the same. Meaning, you in a bright room, business channel, news channel, on an OLED in standard mode, or QM7K, QM8K, QM8L in vivid mode, it's all going to look the same. You can't tell which is OLED, which isn't in a bright room. The infinite contrast doesn't do anything because you have no shadow detail, you have no critical images. You're looking at contrast and legibility, and both of them do that really well. So I don't think you're losing anything by going with last year's QM8K, honestly. Now, if you have audio on, some people complain the QM8K is kind of noisy. So the U7 the U7 last year would be great. QM6K anti-glare, if you want 85 inches of business, that's going to be great. But yeah, good point, Slim Dunn. And a follow-up from Slim Dunn. Thank you for sticking around. My money is on the LG G6 prediction. I predict the G6 will win the shootout. I predict they will win the HDR Impact. So you bring up a good point. There are different categories that they could win. You have the overall king of TVs, which is what everyone talks about. But you have category winners. Last year, the G5 won HDR Impact. So I was like, yes, I was right. And I think the G6 will do it again. I think the G6 will win HDR Impact, and that may be all that's important to you. If you want to buy it, and that's why I got it as my benchmark, the hammer, HDR Impact on the G6, I believe it will win again. It is the best sports TV, bar none. I don't care if it's RGB, mini LED, OLED. The G6 is my favorite sports watching TV, especially with the anti-glare now. It's really good. So between sports watching in any condition, bright or dark, and the HDR Impact, I think the G6 will win those if there are still categories. And the other ones, all right, Sony and Samsung could have it. But those are the two that I think are important to me, and I would bet on that. But Blue 4K bets it will be Sony. Hey, you know what? Go with the incumbent. Ballas is going the other way. LG will lose the shootout. They may not be the king, but I think they will win some categories. I really do. I don't think they will be shut out of winning any category. Okay, so let me see. What sports do I watch? I am a college football kind of guy. I love Saturday, Sunday, NFL. If my favorite players are there, I'll watch it. If it's an interesting matchup, I'll watch it. But Saturday is my day. I love college football Saturday. What I watch, that's what I live for. SC will win the national championship. I know I say that every year, and I'm lucky if they even make it to the top 12 this year, right? So let's one step at a time. Okay. I want your predictions for next year. So wait, we're not even done with 2026. You want predictions for 2027 King of TVs? Come on. All right, let's see. I think bring in your questions and we will make sure to get it before we tap out. But hey, guys, if you haven't clicked like, please do so others can enjoy this stream and catch me before I disappear. All right. Oh, here's an interesting one. The World Cup in 4K Fox app is insane. Yeah, you know what? So between 4K at 30 native and 1080p at 60 or 120, I prefer upscale 1080p at 60 or 120, 120 preferably, if that's available. Because I think for sports, upscaling 1080p to 4K is really good already. The TVs could do that and nail it. But motion, I want that perfectly smooth motion resolution. I wish more broadcasts would be a native 60 FPS or 120 if possible. I think that would be a game changer for you guys who love sports. If you guys haven't seen, I mean, if you're a gamer, you know, right? 120, 1080p, sports, SDR. Doesn't even need to be HDR. It would be perfection for me. All right. And hey, June Lean, thank you for hanging around. If Sony wins the shootout again, it's been rigged. We're changing up the judges as well, by the way, right? You know, some old faces, some new faces. Want to give people some fresh blood in there. But remember, they're trying to compare it to a reference monitor that's also built by Sony. So Sony TV that's designed from the ground up to match the reference monitor, yeah, the likelihood that it's going to be close is very high. Here's a great question. FOMO, do you like the G6 over the S95H? Context. Big picture. Overall, if I was to choose one TV to bring home, and that's the only TV I have, and it's not the 83-inch, because the 83, well, you know what? Let's include the 83-inch. I like Tizen, the Samsung ecosystem, how everything ties in together over WebOS. So that's one point for Samsung, for me. I like how Samsung appliances, whether it's refrigerators, watch, doesn't matter, they all tie together. Samsung invests a lot on the interactions with other devices in the home. They do a better job than LG. I would take full advantage of that. I am very much in the connected home kind of thing, right? So that would be one reason I would choose the S95H. I would watch it in a bright room, mixed use case. I rarely watch in the dark, other than here, my studio, right? So I would definitely prefer the anti-glare on the S95H. Now, as a casual gamer, right, I have the PS5, PS5 Pro, they both are fine. So I'm not going to choose one over the other based on my gaming needs. I think they're fine for gaming, for me. Sports, the G6 is slightly better because it is brighter in a bright room, but the S95H is close enough that it doesn't bring it down enough. I would choose the G6. So based on all of that, I would choose the Samsung. And I'm not a Dolby Vision 2 guy or Dolby Vision 1. It doesn't matter to me. I know the G6 supports Dolby Vision. I think they look the same because Samsung does such a good job of tone mapping in HDR10 anyway. It's not a big deal. Now, the G6 does have better vivid mode, but short of sports and then elevating one or two movies that are kind of crappy, that won't be enough to pull me away from the benefits and virtues I listed for the Samsung. So for me, I would choose the Samsung S95H. But for my benchmark HDR, where I'm saying, can this TV have great HDR impact? The G6 is that benchmark. It does one thing so well. It's vivid mode, it's cinema home. When it comes to HDR, if you have difficult HDR content and you want to see who's the best, the G6 by far is that TV. I mean, it really is obvious, right, to me. But as an overall experience, where it's about quality of life, all that stuff, Samsung S95H, even with the bezel, because I would hang it on the wall. So it's not a big deal. Good question. All right. All Samsung software is sluggish. You know, on startup, I do sense that. Okay, I think it's time to say good night to everyone. I think you guys, all your important questions have been answered. The shootout is in 10 days, so let's hit that up. Thank you, Mozart, for that reminder. It is July 18. We'll start in the morning, East Coast time, and we're going to go all day. The first half is OLED TVs. We'll take a lunch break, and the second half will be mini LED RGB TVs. And then Brian and I will be hosting. Any questions you're going to ask live because we'll be on the live stream. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we'll see what happens, right? Now, until next time, my friends, thanks for showing up. Stop the FOMO.